So most people think that sex equals penetration, right?
Okay.
Sex equals penetration. Erection, penetration, ejaculation. And it ends when he comes. And we assume that this must be what feels good for women too. But if the clitoral caressing that is so central to pleasure for most women was prioritized in the definition of sex, the way that penetration is, then, clitoral caressing would be called sex and penetration would be called post-play or something. The stuff that we think of as foreplay, whether it's fingering or oral sex or something, any sort of, if this is the vulva, where's my little vulva model? This is the vulva. This is the clitoris, right? Which is so central to women's pleasure. It's the most reliable route to pleasure for most women. But instead, sex is seen as penis in vagina, right? The vaginal canal is the opening from which menstrual blood exits or a baby exits or a penis could enter during penetration. But the clitoris, which is this often neglected little structure at the top, is actually super central to the experience of orgasm for women. So if you're ignoring this, if sex is just this, it would be, the equivalent for men would be like playing with the balls the whole time.
Okay, yeah.
And expecting them to feel great. I mean, it might feel okay, but like imagine if I didn't know where the penis was, didn't even touch it. That's how, you know what I mean? That's how sex often ends up feeling for women because there's such an overemphasis on penetration. And the clitoral caressing that's often relegated to foreplay is optional. You know what I mean? But what if we spent an hour on clitoral caressing, whether with fingers, tongue, combination thereof, or with a vibrator while also experiencing penetration? Sex would be much more pleasurable for women, but most people just think what feels good for him should feel good for her. It's like an overemphasis on penetration. So I think like broadening the definition of sex to include more than just penetration, knowing what the clitoris is one of those things that really can take women's pleasure a long way. Yeah.
And what are like some of the things a man shouldn't do when it comes to women's pleasure?
What a man shouldn't do? How long would you like me to speak for?
Go.
I think that unfortunately, for a lot of people of all genders, there's a sense of shame and disgust associated with the vulva, okay? Like,
what is the vulva?
Vulva, sorry. Okay, should we do a little anatomy lesson?
Yeah,
let's do a little anatomy lesson.
Let's do
so I have these two little models of the vulva, and I'll use them both because this one has a bit more precision, but it's smaller, so it's harder to see, and this is a bit bigger, so it's easier. So let's start with this. So the external genitals are the vulva. Okay, most people call this whole thing the vagina, but actually this is the vulva, and only the internal canal is the vagina. So the entire external region, which comprises of the clitoris, the outer lips, the inner lips, there's the small urethra over here, which is where urine comes out of. It's a separate opening. The vagina is a separate opening. The anus would be here. So there's sorry, that's the camera. So the clitoris, that would be the urethra where pee comes out of, the vagina where menstrual blood or exits, a baby would exit from, and a penis would go in during intercourse. These are the inner lips, the outer lips. This whole external thing is called the vulva, and only the internal canal is the vagina. But most people just casually refer to this whole thing as vagina, not realizing or never having been taught, right, the names of these other parts, the labia minora, labia majora, clitoris, whatever. It can be news to people even if they have this anatomy. So that's something I think we need to fix, because how can you talk about what feels good for you if you don't even have the words and you don't even know the parts?
I see.
So I think for a lot of women, it's so valuable to take a hand mirror and actually look at your own vulva, because unlike with a penis, it's not that easy to see, right? You kind of have to, when you're standing up, you can't really see what's going on. So you take a mirror, look at what's there, look at a diagram on the internet that's labeled if you want to help yourself match the parts, and then understand those parts, because whether in a health context or with a partner, how are you going to tell a doctor or partner or anyone what you need to know about down there if you yourself don't know?